For those who are only listening right now, Sydney's
he's gonna narrate it. Well, I need every horny commercial to have Michael Knowles narrating it. Let's see what Michael Knowles has to say about it. Now, Michael Knowles, interestingly enough, isn't relevant. He briefly tried to go relevant when he was like, I think we should murder all trans people. And then it just turns out Matt Walsh is just better. Matt Walsh, kind of funny. I got to admit it. I don't like him. I think he's a despicable human being. I don't have a lot of respect for him. He's a pretty open Nazi. He's pretty openly just a white nationalist. He's a bad guy. He's kind of funny and charming at times. He can be. I'm just saying. So the point is, if your main goal is you want to see people tell you, kill them all, liquidate the degenerates, I am Adolf Hitler, Heil Hitler, Heil Hitler, just go with Matt Walsh. You're going to have a far more entertaining time. But Michael Knowles apparently still exists and still makes videos. This is 43 minutes. Dear Lord. Okay. Just go to the number 2. Okay. American Eagle stock jumps 10%, adds $200.
She did it. It's not.
Okay. So calm down, Michael. First off, he's wearing his denim jacket, partially to celebrate American Eagle, also because he's joining a Ryan Adams tribute band. So there's that.
They did it. They did it, folks. American Eagle with Sydney Sweeney. They ended wokeness. There have been a lot of...
Now, another thing you have to remember is that Sydney Sweeney is from like Ohio or some shit. Where is Sydney Sweeney from? Missouri, maybe? No, Idaho is where she's from. Presumably, from Ruby Ridge. She was one of the childs there. Let's see where she's from. Sydney Bernice Sweeney. And by the way, if everyone knew her middle name was Bernice, they'd be like... She was born September 12th, 1997. So she was born after Men in Black was released in theaters. I don't care for that. She was born in Spokane, Washington. And I think mostly was raised in North Idaho in the state's Panhandle region in a rural lakeside home. So there was the thing a couple years back. I don't know if anyone remembers this, but like she was tagged in some Instagram post from a family member at like a birthday party or something that was like a Trump themed birthday party or some shit. I don't know the exact details, but the point is people found out her family's MAGA. Yeah, they're from fucking rural Idaho. What do you expect? Sydney Sweeney, instead, she's not been terribly political. She hasn't said anything, endorsed anything. She's mostly been like, what's my position? What's my political position? They are, look at my tits. My political position is mostly look at my big ass fucking tits. Her political position is that she has back pain, I'd imagine. But consequently, a lot of people on the right wanted to like claim her and say like, oh, she's right wing, and part of that I heard people saying, I didn't even realize this, but she was on that show Euphoria. I guess that's how she first kind of blew up. I've never seen Euphoria. I watched like 12 minutes of one episode and it seemed like a bunch of attractive 15-year-olds fucking, and I got so angry. It was like, I have never related to anything less in my fucking life. I have seen like Bela Tarr films about Russian sharecroppers just plowing fields for 9 hours, and I've related to that more than all of these wealthy, attractive children in Euphoria. So she did that, but then in Euphoria, Zendaya was a main character, and she's cute. And all of the racists, because I think they briefly got a boner looking at Zendaya, had to be like, she is the ugliest woman I've ever seen. She's also not Michi. Stop claiming that. And as like a response to that, they had to be like, actually, Sydney Sweeney's hotter. And they are helped by the fact that Sydney Sweeney is hotter. I mean, in my opinion. Okay. And Zendaya is attractive. Listen, Zendaya, no offense, I would fuck you too. Okay. Zendaya, please don't be upset. I know you're watching. I know, you're one of the 4 viewers that I have right now. But Sydney Sweeney has been adopted by the right as this like symbol of American purity or some dumb bullshit, because the thing about right-wingers you have to remember is that at any given moment, they are a combination of being stupider than you can even imagine. Their level of cognition is like at a level where, and I'm stupid and all my viewers are stupid. They're so much stupider than you could be, no matter how drunk you are. The drunkest you've ever been in your life, you would still pass, whatever, a basic reading comprehension test better than the average Republican. And in addition to being stupid, they are also furious, terrified, and so horny. Holy fucking shit. Have you ever gone for a weekend at your girlfriend's mother's house and you couldn't jack off. You come back and you haven't busted in like 4 days. That's how they feel all the time. And so they just saw a white woman with blonde hair and blue eyes and big ass tits. And they said, I will fucking die for her. I will fucking. That's what they were storming the Capitol for, actually. It was not to get Trump back. It was mostly to get Sydney Sweeney's attention. And it worked. They liked it. And all I'm going to say here is that, I'm not saying anyone should get hurt, but John Hinckley's out now. Has he seen pictures of Sydney Sweeney? I'm going to leave it at that. Is he aware? Well, I don't know. If he liked Jodie Foster, maybe big ass titties isn't his thing. I don't know. Someone bleach a photo of Zendaya and show that to him. Maybe that'll work. Moments
where we said, is wokeness dead? With the end of the 2024 election, you know, Trump wins with the popular vote. Was that the end of wokeness? Was, I don't know, the canceling of Bud Light, was that the end of wokeness?
Remember that? Don't forget. Oh, they are so ashamed. Oh my, that's the thing. That's why they're angry, because a woman has made them horny and therefore gotten power over them. And they're terrified because they think someone's going to find out that they're horny. But they're also terrified because maybe they're kind of gay. It's a wild fucking. You ever see that movie, The Cell, where Jennifer Lopez has to go inside a serial killer's brain and see the inside of it? Doing that with just any average, you know, Michigan dad Trump voter would be wilder than Vincent D'Onofrio's Inside Imagination. It would go insane. But remember that thing where, I think this was summer of 2023, maybe it was, where there was one TikTok one time where, what's her fucking name? Who was the woman who, the trans woman who got Dylan Mulvaney. She got one Bud Light can with her face on it. And here's the thing. Obviously, Dylan Mulvaney, live your truth. Trans women are women. I love you. Very annoying. A very annoying human being. Hey guys, I got my can. I'm doing my birthday can. We're having fun. Very irritating. But I didn't know who this human being was. Had never seen this TikTok until some Republican who was like, I just went there to get directions on how to get away from there. They posted it and were like, they're trying to influence the kids to be trans via Bud Light. What? It was very confusing. And then like someone brought a gun into a grocery store and shot up some Bud Light or something. Kid Rock made a video where he goes, here's how I feel about Bud Light. And then he just opened fire on a pallet of it that he had presumably had bought. Even though he obviously didn't give a shit and it was nonsense and no one really cared, I guess. It was just, I don't know. People love being mad. It's so much fun to just be furious at something. And if you have no understanding of systemic inequality or where actual problems come from, you're just mad that like one beer can had a trans person on it. It wasn't even like a marketing thing. Well, it was a marketing thing and they paid her to do it, but they didn't release it wide. It wasn't like 1999 where Pepsi cans all had fucking Watto on them or some shit. This was just one can given to one person for one TikTok. And then I think Bud Light like sales dropped a little bit and then went right back. And then all the conservatives were like, yee-ho! We won! We fucking won! I've said before, my actual political opinions are pretty moderate, pretty milquetoast legitimately, to be honest with you, except for when I have to talk to conservatives. Every time I actually speak to the average Republican voter, I'm just like, we need re-education camps. Dear God. Chairman Mao, come back. President Xi, save my country. Dear Lord. And so this guy is just like, was that when we killed wokeness? When we got really mad at a beer can 2 years ago? Is that a thing? Even the average Republican doesn't remember. They forgot like 2 months later. When they're watching this video, his audience, when they watch this video and they see that, they probably go, oh yeah, I was mad, and then punch a hole in drywall. But they don't actually care. They'll forget again. It's just again, conservatives, this is a superpower they have. They don't have object permanence. If they're not looking at something directly, they will forget it exists.
I think this is as good a date as any. For those of you who have not seen it yet, I'll pick one of the more wholesome of the American Eagle advertisements. Sydney Sweeney.
Because the other thing about Michael Knowles is he does this a lot because he famously got really mad because someone tweeted like, hey, Hooters sucks dick or some shit. Why go to Hooters? You like spend $40 on shitty wings and then a fucking high school dropout briefly shows her cleavage to you. And then he was like, no, Hooters is an American institution. So it's this weird double act he has to play where he's like, I am incredibly horny and also incredibly Christian and chaste. And this is a family show. It's very schizophrenic.
Working on a classic muscle car, selling jeans.
He looks so angry there for some reason.
For those who are only listening right now, Sydney's
he's gonna narrate it. Well, I need every horny commercial to have Michael Knowles narrating it. All those Hardy commercials where like, you know, Paris Hilton would come out on a car and be like, I rubbed every one of these burgers on my pussy. Enjoy. I want him to narrate that.
Sweeney, she's fully clothed and she just then walks away.
No, as opposed to all the commercials where she's naked and fingering herself.
Has very keen.
Kind of rubs the back of her jeans, gets in a sweet looking Mustang, says American Eagle. She drives away.
It was an accurate summation of what happened. That still is not the commercial I saw. I'm trying to find that one where I guess it's not that important, but she just like is saying, you know, jeans are important. They say hair color relates to jeans. Eye colors relate to jeans. And everyone was like, oh, this is a Nazi dog whistle. Maybe. I never know these kind of things. I think it's just literally some 45-year-old marketing guy being like, A, I'm in a position where if I do this, I get to have dinner with Sydney Sweeney once. And B, it's a fun play on word between jeans with a G and jeans with a J. But maybe they are actual white nationalists. I'm not sure. Certainly there are aspects of the commercial. He is saying this is a great American commercial scooter. They will, if Sydney Sweeney ever at some point is like, I don't know, I think that maybe it's bad Palestinian children are dying, they will all call her a disgusting has-been whore. That's any day now that will happen. But at the moment, they are cooming so hard. They are both gooning and cooming at the same time. Some are calling it cooming.
That's it. She's got a tank top on. She's not showing too much cleavage.
What I need Michael Knowles to get a ruler and determine exactly how much cleavage is okay. Versus like, okay, now we're at 1 inch, 2 inch, and we're good. And now you're going to hell. Unfortunately, you're going to burn in hell. So
she's got the most skin she's showing really is her shoulders and her feet. I mean, it is not, she's got baggy jeans on. It's not even that tight, but it shows.
And it does make me think that all of these evangelical Christians, they will get to radical Islam eventually. That will be where they are. Because he clearly is like, she needs to be in a full burqa. It's both like she's so sexy and that's destroying the woke, and we need to put her head to toe, you know, otherwise she's offending Allah. They'll all get there eventually. Andrew Tate was there first because he's smarter than most of these guys. I think that's legitimately true.
It shows some of Sydney Sweeney's assets. That's how she's selling the clothes. This commercial, even down to the car, even down to the presence of the Mustang in it, is the polar opposite of one of the other most prominent commercials of this year, that one for Jaguar, which showed a bunch of gender-bending eunuchs trying to sell old lady British cars.
Now, an important thing to note is that I don't know what he's talking about. Regular humans don't watch these commercials. Where do they show up? It reminds me of like The View. You know that show, The View? Dave Rubin spends half of every show yelling about how bad The View is. And I'm like, you're the only person still watching it. Maybe the algorithm has just determined correctly that I'm not going to be buying a goddamn Jaguar anytime soon. Okay? So maybe it's just shown these commercials to Michael Knowles and not to me, but it seems odd.
Remember this?
So again, this is just a black woman. I don't know, is the issue. I mean, so much of conservative media is them just going, look at how fucking weird this is, dude. This freaked me out because it was weird. I didn't like this. Basically all conservative media just be boiled down to being like, all art should be Norman Rockwell and not the painting of the black kid going to school. No, just the white family. That's it. I don't know. Who cares?
One, got a bunch of people of dubious sex, weird looking Martian kind of people and frilly.
Again, it's just a black woman. Just a black woman. You are correct, Scooter. It's a common trope. The women are too sexy by how skimpy their outfits are in detail. That is, again, it's the issue with so much of the two problems we have in the world are thus, okay? And I'm just Martian looking, two ways we can solve the world, okay? Solve the world and all the world's problems. One, it's okay to jack off anytime, anywhere. It doesn't matter. And I know that's going to be uncomfortable for you ladies. You're going to see a lot of dudes jacking off on the bus. It sucks. It is better than the fucking Crusades, evangelical holy war these people will do because they can't jack off. It is not only is it legal to jack off anywhere, it is mandated, required by the state to jack off bare minimum every 48 hours. Okay? And it kind of becomes a Logan's Run kind of thing where if your dick stops working when you're older, one in the back of the head. That's how we thin the herd. And if you're a woman, this doesn't apply to you. You're fine. You're doing everything fine. Calm down. I'm sorry, but every time you're in public and you have to see a guy jack off, if you can provide proof of it, the government will take $20 off your taxes. And the other way we can solve the world, hear me out on this. The other way we can solve the world, you're allowed to say the N-word in public again. The fact that no one says it in public anymore means that Michael Knowles can just look at a black woman and be like, this Martian ass looking shit. If he just said the N-word, everyone will go, okay, well, that's kind of where he's at, you know, and he'd still have an audience. It wouldn't be tricking people. So that's the platform I'm running on for, of course, school board here in Chicago, Illinois. Jack off everywhere, all the time, and say the N-word. Can you say the N-word while jacking off? I don't know, man. Only one way to find out.
Costumes. Live vivid. Mm-hmm. Delete ordinary. It's a key phrase. Delete.
So I think he's literally going to say, like, delete ordinary means we need to do white genocide. Even though, honestly, Michael Knowles is Italian enough that it's like, we only, like, less than 100 years ago, you wouldn't have even been white, buddy. Okay? Calm down.
Ordinary. Break molds.
So, again, I want him to be narrating this like he did the Sydney Sweeney commercial. Also, that does kind of look like Mars. Okay, he's not wrong about that. That actually is a bit Martian looking. Then someone picks up a sledgehammer and they walk over.
It's a bunch of like drag queen type looking thing. Not even drag.
Yeah, they are not drag queens. That drag queen's a very specific thing. You should know, Michael, because your penis isn't erect right now.
We just androgynous people on some weird purple planet. Copy nothing.
So it's almost like he's mad at the concept of science fiction. Does he like go see Total Recall? And he's like, this is degenerate.
So this is the opposite. If the Jaguar commercial was the apotheosis of liberalism, the Sydney Sweeney commercial, just looking good in a pair of jeans, is the end of it.
That's the end of liberalism. That's true, actually. I just got a news alert, and it's actually true. Hakeem Jeffries killed himself because he saw the Sydney Sweeney commercial. Chuck Schumer is currently in a psychiatric hold. Yes, that is. It's the Jaguar commercial. I didn't even know. I'm learning about this now because this isn't a thing human beings watch. This was some shitty ad agency who was like, I don't know. I got a brother who's into like modern art. I got to give him a job. Let's do it. We'll make a Jaguar. By the way, no cars in that commercial, as far as I can tell. Doesn't Jaguar make cars? It's very silly. It was designed maybe entirely to piss off right-wingers. I don't think it's true about the Jaguar commercial. I think that was just someone being pretentious. But like, remember the, what was the razor brand? Gillette, I think it was, where it was like, there are different ways to be a man. And then like a woman's walking by and a guy's like, hey, I'd love to and then his black friend is like, hold on, cut it out. I think that commercial was designed to piss off right-wingers. I think the Jaguar commercial was not designed to sell cars, as far as I can tell. There was not a car in it. What if at the end of that whole commercial was just for Burger King? Popped up and was like, now we have that Whopper that makes you poop black stuff again. Enjoy, Burger King.
There's good news and bad news about this commercial.
Mm-hmm. The good news is you can jack off to it. The bad news is I can't say the N-word in public, so...
The good news is it's not 2020 anymore.
I do think that's good news. I am also glad it is not 2020 anymore. You guys seen that movie Eddington that's out in theaters right now? It's pretty good. Not great. It was interesting. I'd recommend it. But just at the very beginning of the movie, a little, title card comes up that says May 2020. And you're like, oh, that was a vibe. That was a vibe.
2020, culturally, politically, probably peak wokeness.
Nah, 2020 was not peak wokeness. I think absolute peak wokeness was like 28. No, here was absolute peak wokeness. 2019 when the Joker movie came out. God forbid anything interrupt my constant stream of buy gold, you broke cut commercials. Literally true. 2019 peak wokeness was when Joker came out and movie critics were legitimately like, this is radicalizing young white men into doing mass shootings. Have there been any mass shootings? Any day now. Any day now. And here's the thing. It did come out the same weekend, the first Joker movie, as the Downton Abbey movie. And it would have been funny if like some old bitch did a mass shooting in a screening of Downton Abbey. That actually, someone cosplayed as Maggie Smith. She's in Downton Abbey, right? Judi Dench, I don't know, all those old bitches are in there. What does he have to say? So the good news is it's not 2020 anymore. No one's woke anymore. Thank God.
The good news is that's done. We're past that. The bad news is we have apparently gone back to 1998. That's it.
No, 1998 was chill. I was 14. Yeah. No, I would take that. If it was like 1999 and I'm 15, I probably wouldn't want to do that. Because that's when shit started getting a little rough on my ass. But if it's like you go back to being 14, sure, Michael Knowles, I'll take that.
We haven't gone back to the 1950s. We haven't gone back to the 1600s. We haven't gone back to
Michael Knowles is one of those guys where occasionally he'll drop a sentence and you just want to go, hey, Michael, can we maybe go back to that cul-de-sac? What? Do you want to go back to the 1600s? That's a goal of yours, exactly. 1998 was woke as hell. Godzilla came out. They released that version of Brain Stew with Godzilla roars in it. P. Diddy rapped over Kashmir by Led Zeppelin. It was a very woke time.
To the 1320s. We're back in
the 1320s. Okay. I definitely agree that women would be a lot less mouthy if half of them died during childbirth. So there's that.
About 1998. What passes for conservatism now is mainstream 90s liberalism.
Oh, okay. So this is the beat he's doing. He's saying he doesn't. Okay. Yeah. That I guess would be true, but like there's not, it wouldn't be true. It's stupid, silly nonsense that means nothing. But this commercial isn't political except that you're making it. It's like, it's a very silly argument to just look at something and go like, well, that's obviously me and they're on my side. And it's like, so I'm not that radical. What the fuck are you talking about? That would be like if, when the goddamn Patriots win the Super Bowl, I'm just like, see, that's the thing. We're great at football. We're all really good at it. Like you can't just look at a commercial that's not conservative and go like, isn't it cool how conservative this commercial is? What?
Bill Clintonism. Is there anything more Bill Clinton? Hey, honey, I love those jeans. Love American Eagle.
That was an awful Bill Clinton impression. Bill Clinton, you got to talk a little softer. You got to go a little quieter. Tell you something, Sydney Sweeney. She's a powerful girl. She's a lot of potential. A little too skinny for me. Now, if you have not a maybe on the lower side of obese, thick Jewish girl, I'd love to get a blowjob from her. That'd be a lot of fun for me. What's that, Jeffrey? No, I'm not going to get you out of jail. I won't be doing anything for it. It is fun. Bill Clinton is one of the most fun presidents to do an impression of.
That's what we get. And yet, I think this is still broadly a good thing, even though it's not perfect. The first question you have to grapple with is, why is Sydney Sweeney the it girl of today? She's very...
That's arguable. Well, I guess who would be the competition? Sydney Sweeney, like Sabrina Carpenter is kind of an it girl too. Honestly, Sabrina Carpenter would be more like in the conservative mindset as they would kind of done. He does look incredibly uncomfortable in that denim jacket, Scooter. You mentioned the great bit I said earlier where he's wearing it because later he has rehearsals for his Ryan Adams tribute band, which I think was pretty good. Regardless, yeah, Sabrina Carpenter did that album with the cover where she's like on her knees and someone's holding her hair, and I believe the title was "Come in My Throat, Daddy." Slap me around like a little bitch. No, but Sabrina Carpenter, you could more. I mean, again, it would be an incredibly stupid fucking thing because you can't discuss policy. It's only like the vague cultural signifiers align with my, conservative worldview, even if they do, which they really don't. But that would be a better argument. I think the Sydney Sweeney commercial, especially the one he showed, was wildly apolitical. But again, the basic position he has is that the Democratic Party is everything degenerate and bad and terrible that he thinks it is. Only silly.
A good-looking lady. But why is she the hottest chick that ever walked on a screen ever?
No, that was Gabourey Sidibe from Precious.
I don't know. People seem to think so today. Why? I think the reason why is because she looks normal, like a really, really good version of normal.
Okay. If you think she looks normal, I want to find out what town you live in. Okay. That's the thing that was going viral on Twitter recently, where someone's like, most far-right propaganda is just posting a picture of a chick with amazing jugs and being like, they took this from us. It's this thing that conservatives will say where they'll be like, back in 1998, like he's saying, every woman looked like Sydney Sweeney. And that's not true. Again, I was 14 in 1998, so I was paying a lot of attention to what women looked like. They did not. That's not accurate. Okay? And guess what? In 1998, they didn't say woke, but they'd say like, oh, these PC college students with their nose piercings. It was the exact same fucking thing. It's the exact same thing. Always, always, always. They never bring anything new to the table. Bring something new, Michael Knowles. Be like, my problem with Democrats, they don't mow their lawn enough. Like, bring something new to the table.
At a time, especially in 2025, when every prominent woman seems to have Ozempic face and those giant clown lips and has made themselves into a hyper-real caricature of a woman.
So, and again, first off, in the 90s, everyone was sounding off about plastic surgery all the time. Half of Billy Crystal's jokes at every Oscars would be like, look at this bitch with her stupid face. Okay. Secondly, what's Ozempic face? Ozempic is, we need to stop people on Ozempic. Okay. But when I think of Ozempic, first person I think of is Alex Jones in terms of destroying himself and looking like a big weirdo. Exactly. She's normal, AKA Aryan. She's not a Martian. Okay. They desperately want to put her in like a St. Pauli's girl outfit and just have her sing the song from Cabaret. The future belongs to me.
And it's as if the men decided to turn themselves into caricatures of women through drag queenism and transgenderism. And then the women.
I've never heard drag queenism before. Just like, I like that. Drag queenism. I have always felt for a long time that RuPaul was a Karl Marx-esque figure.
Men decided to try to look like the transgender men. And it's just become this weird, hyper-real caricature.
Yes, drag queens are a hyper-real caricature. Yes, it's a performance. You're getting that. Okay? But again, you're currently wearing a denim jacket because you think it looks cool. So don't sit here and lecture me on how silly other people's performances are, Michael Knowles, okay? Shut up, your stupid face.
Sydney Sweeney comes out and she looks natural and everything looks normal.
He's about to say tits. Or, tits look natural, which they do, which I can't show you. Because listen, I can't show you here on the stream, but I've not watched a full episode of Euphoria. I have seen some GIFs, if you know what I'm saying. And she whips them out. And they're nice. They're real nice.
Albeit very good. And she looks like the hottest version of the girl next door. And I think that doesn't appeal in every age, but that appeals in our age. And she seems normal.
I'm going to say this right now. A pretty blonde girl with big ass tits appeals in every age. Okay? If you drop Sydney Sweeney back in like 1860, they'd probably be like, this bitch is too skinny. She's not going to plow the field right. Someone feed her. But they'd want to fuck her. Okay? Sydney Sweeney would be hot no matter where or when or how.
In that, at a time when all of the movie starlets and all the TV starlets and the Instagram influencers are braying about politics and abortion and killing kids and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Sydney Sweeney is just kind of...
Yes, I'm tired of all these Instagram influencers talking about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Who is it? Fucking Chappell Roan was like the biggest star in the world last year for like 3 months until she was like, I guess I don't want to be famous and I kind of find it kind of annoying. And then she was like, but no, wait, no. Because Sabrina Carpenter was like, I sure would like to be famous, and immediately took that mantle. I know. I'd love to interview Michael to learn his secrets to filling time. It is amazing, these guys and their ability to do that. You know? But anyways, I was saying about Chappell Roan, you know, she came out and shitted on the Democratic Party. It was like, I can't say, it was very stupid in my humble opinion. Because her whole thing was like, because, you know, she came out and her main thing is like, I don't like the Democratic Party's support of the Israeli government and, you know, the genocide in Gaza. I get it, man. I get it. I still would recommend voting Democrat, but I get where you're coming from. But her position was like, no, I don't think they're good enough on trans rights. The fuck do you want? Okay? It was against Donald Trump, who ran on a platform of all trans people are going to make your kid trans, and then we're going to put both of them in a camp. The trans person and now the second trans person, your kid. You think they're equal on that issue? For the love of God. So no, this is the common thing these people, because he's talking to like 75-year-old people. Okay? All the Republican Party is entirely people over the age of 75, or, and this is a new development they got recently, and good on them, people under the age of like 21. You know, they've got some youngins, or, you know, people who are like 12, 13. They can't vote, but they love it. Those people don't watch Michael Knowles. The kids don't watch Michael Knowles, okay? The cool ones are watching like Nick Fuentes or whoever, you know, the Gen Alpha influencer on TikTok who's like, Nick Fuentes is a liberal cuck. I'm to the right of him. I'm sure that person exists. But they don't watch that. Michael Knowles, the whole Daily Wire thing, one of the reasons they've really been kind of losing relevancy a lot is their main audience is old people. And old people have no idea what's happening in pop culture. I can say that as an old person myself, but dear God, are we terrified and angry about it. We used to be with it. Then they changed what it was. Now what we're with isn't it. And what is it is weird and scary to us. And it'll happen to you.
Kind of bubbly and nice and doesn't really get involved in all that and just does her job and smiles and looks good on camera. She's a pretty good actress. And that,
I don't know if that commercial is necessarily the best example of that.
That's really refreshing. It's a return to how things were in the 90s. But
yeah, well, and first off, there were plenty of people like you in the 90s talking about super predators and how we, you know, needed to liquidate the blacks, et cetera, et cetera. But I do like that his position is both that this is a conservative commercial and it's refreshing because it's not political. It's like if someone does not express a direct political opinion, that counts as being Republican. What?
What conservatives have to grapple with then is
their penises.
90s weren't all that great. We now think retrospectively that they were great because many of us were children in the 90s. And you always think the era that you were a kid during was the height of civilization.
He's actually correct about this. And I've said before, and I do agree that nostalgia is inherently fascist. And I think this is true of a lot of people when, you know, talk about the 90s or the 80s or 70s or whatever. People will be like, oh my God, the economy is so bad and the wages are out of, and back in the day, people had houses and they owned houses. People did, and it was easier to own a house then. And like, they're not completely wrong. But like, people look back at things with rose-colored glasses in this way because you were a fucking kid and you had chalky milk and you watched the X-Men cartoon. And, you know, later you got molested by Michael Knowles. But no, it was, you know, things were better in some ways, you know. That is true. A commercial reinforcing the status quo is exceedingly political. In a way, I mean, you might say that it actually is. The American Eagle commercial actually is incredibly conservative in that the main position is that you should give a rich guy more money for jeans made by immigrant labor, not even immigrant labor, made by, you know, outsourced labor, destroying the American middle class. Yeah, I guess it is pretty fucking conservative in that way.
But there were a lot of problems. You had massive violence. You had relative highs of street violence.
So this is interesting, actually, that he's mentioning this, because I'm sure a big thing about conservative messaging, again, it's all about scared, angry, horny, ashamed. And so they try to get people scared. So they're always talking about like, crime is out of control in the inner cities. They're lighting people on fire. It's wild. This is crazy. Crime is crazy, crazy, crazy. Crime is way down. from where it was. It peaked in, I think, the 90s. I could be wrong about that, and I will not be looking it up. And if you have any numbers that contradict this, I'm not going to believe them because numbers are all gay. But crime, back in the day, people were way more likely to just fucking shoot each other. I think part of that is they're way more likely to hang out and drink in public with one another. You know, nowadays, people are at home on their damn phone, just charging their phone, eating hot chip and lying is all people do nowadays. Back in the day, you'd be way more likely just on, you know, whatever, it's a Saturday night, we're having fun, just walk to a bar with your gun. If someone says something wrong or maybe looks a little Jewish, you take out your gun and you know?
Social solidarity was fraying. You had a real high point in the divorce rate. You had...
Was the 90s a high point in the divorce rate? It's actually interesting. I think I've read stuff that the divorce rate has actually settled a little bit since then and gone down. I don't know if that's true. I haven't looked it up. But I feel like it's true, so I'm just going to choose to believe it.
The peak of abortion activism, or a peak of abortion activism, you had, you know, it was the decade of Bill Clinton.
Yeah. So when he says a peak of abortion activism, does he mean people getting abortions? He'd probably literally consider that activism. Like a 15-year-old girl gets raped by her fucking stepdad and she goes in to get an abortion. And he goes, why do you got to be all political? Why do you got to be political about it? I'll tell you what the 90s, I don't know if it was the peak of this, but had a lot of was anti-abortion activism in terms of people who actually believe it, which is to say, like, you know, that the guy who put the bomb and the Olympics in Atlanta in 1996, I think it was, lead paint curve. You're absolutely correct. That's legitimately a theory, if you people don't know, about why people were more violent back in the day was because there was lead in the paint. That's why boomers are so fucking stupid. Okay? Just remember that. We're supposed to believe, this is an old Doug Stanhope joke, but I'll just steal it from him, which is very funny when he'd be like, we're supposed to believe that old people are wise. Yeah, who falls for the most phone scams? Okay? But as I was saying about the anti-abortion activism stuff, that bomb that was put in at the Olympics in Atlanta, Georgia in 1996 that Richard Jewell found and the FBI railroaded him and Clint Eastwood made a movie about it. But that guy who did that was a wild anti-abortion activist. And I think that's bad and he's wrong, but I have some respect for that because it seems like he actually believes it. You know, whenever people are like, oh, they're murdering babies, I don't believe they actually believe that. I don't think they think that. If I thought there was a building, just a building that I could drive through where they were murdering babies like fucking pigs at a goddamn factory to be turned into slush for McNuggets or something, I would probably be violent against that place. I don't think we should murder babies. That's bad, you know? So most of the people, when they say, I think they're murdering babies, I think they don't actually believe that. They don't actually care about babies too. They don't give a shit. They just want to control women. But these people who are like bombing abortion clinics and killing abortion doctors, that's bad. That's a bad thing to do. Don't do that. And I don't agree with them. But they do seem to actually believe it. They're standing on business, as the kids say. I kind of have some respect for that in a weird sort of way. I don't know. I have respect for a lot of people that should be in jail forever, you know? Those are not mutually exclusive things. Disagreeing with someone, hating someone, finding someone repugnant, and having some degree of respect for actually, you know, having the courage of your convictions.
So it wasn't all that great. Should we be happy to be returning to that? Are conservatives really the party of just like gawking at blondes and arousing lusts? And is that it? I don't think so. But
worse things to be a party of.
Gawking at Sydney Sweeney is a lot better than gawking at some weird polyandrogynous trans eunuchs.
So this is literally him being like, here's how good the Republican Party is right now. We got better stuff to jack off to. Finally.
The companies deciding to sell normal sex is better than companies deciding to sell weird sex.
What a horrible face this man's making, and I hate it. So the Jaguar commercial didn't seem to be sexual at all. But I think these people, like, and they're not even like sexy. They're not even like erotic in a way. They only view sex in terms of like domination. So I think everything to some degree is sexual to them in that they're like, I will conquer and destroy these people. So like he sees the Jaguar commercial and to him that's sexual. I don't know why. That's odd.
Do you understand why? The reason
I don't know, Michael. Please explain it to me.
why is you don't want companies to sell sex generally because it's bad to arouse lusts, and really strong civilized societies don't do that. Don't prey on that. It's not just a civilization of guys like Wile E. Coyote. Their jaw drops to the floor.
That's true. It's true. What they do if you go in to vote Democrat, Scooter says it's true. You can't register as a Democrat without swearing not to jerk off to Sydney Sweeney. They take you into a room and they put electrodes on your penis, and then they show you the American Eagle commercial. And if you get aroused, then you're not allowed to be a Democrat.
Or the tongue unfurled, hubba, 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 constantly in a state of titillation.
Also, by the way, Michael Knowles is the kind of guy that when aroused would say hubba hubba. He would say that.
That's not what you want. But it is better if you have to choose. It's better for a company to sell normal sex than to sell weird sex, because selling normal sex plays on lust, which is a vice.
Now, the Best Party sells real sex on DVD, the HBO show.
But selling weird sex, like androgynous, LGBT, bizarro world, polycule stuff, is not only some.
First off, this guy probably fucks his wife through a hole in a sheet. Okay? He probably fucks a wife through a hole in the sheet and then afterwards starts crying and go, "Why did you do this to me?" And he wants to tell anyone about what normal sex is.
Sometimes playing on vice, but it's also contrary to nature. That's why not all.
That explains why the last time I had sex, a bunch of birds flew in and said, "You are contrary to nature."
Traditionally in Christianity, sexual sins are considered pretty important. They're not the worst sins of all, but they're significant, one, because they're so widespread, and there are differing degrees of sexual sin. It's bad to fornicate.
That's true. Uncivilized cultures are famously horny at all times. That actually is kind of true, actually.
It's really bad to cheat on your wife, but there are some sins that are contrary.
Unless she's a bitch. There's always exceptions.
To nature. And so what I think you're seeing with the Sydney Sweeney defeating wokeness is you are seeing nature healing. It's become kind of a meme. Nature is healing. Sydney Sweeney is showing off her cleavage. Nature is
He called it cleavage. Misspoke. Done. You're not going to Valhalla. Get out of here.
healing. But it is a return to nature. It's a return to how she's a pretty girl showing off her body in kind of normal ways and
working on a car in jeans. Okay.
Arousing men in normal ways to sell blue jeans. And we want grace to perfect nature. We want to overcome some of our more animal nature. But given how degraded a state our culture has found itself in, I say at least 2 cheers for Sydney Sweeney. I'm not willing to go 3 cheers for the Sydney Sweeney ad campaign because we want to move into an even more civilized, wholesome kind of culture. But for now, given where we've been, 2 cheers. 2 cheers for American Eagle. It's good.
Okay, cool. So again, with all this stuff, the end goal for all of it, the end state is going to be radical Islam. That's where all of these guys are going to wind up at the end of the day.